Cool.
Cool. All right, so let's jump into this. So today we got Kurt, and we got his business partner or who?
No,
who
so Steve's like my right hand man. I call him my caddy actually because he's anytime I need something done, I'm like, hey Steve, I need you to do this. Or for example, if we're at an event and the guy's like, hey, you got a business card? Well, I'm scatterbrained as heck, so this dude's always got a business card and he's like right there. Or hey,
Sure.
I need you to grab a shirt for me. So he runs back and grabs a shirt. And
Sure, awesome.
he's one of those type of guys where if I forget something, he remembers it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he forgets it, I remember it. So we work great together. We've been friends since high school. Actually, Steven's mom here helped me get this business started. So,
Oh, really? So have you been in with him since day one?
Not day one, no. I'm coming up on 2 years now, I've been.
yeah, 2 years. So like right before, was it after COVID? Yeah, it was shortly after COVID.
Yeah.
Right? I can't remember now, but we've had a lot of good times and a lot of nights we don't remember, so I forget. But yeah, it's been awesome. His mom, I think it was right after COVID, you were kind of slow at your last job, so she was like, hey, Steve would love to come work for you. I'm like, man, actually, I need him. So hired him right away, and he's like my shipping coordinator. So he, we ship out a lot of freight, a lot of doors for side-by-sides.
Before we get too much into it,
Yeah.
because I don't think we said it, you have off-road armor.
Yeah.
So before we get too much into the detail, I just want to make sure everyone, because there's going to be a lot of people that when I share it, a lot of people that don't know who you guys are. And so off-road armor is a legit, that's what it is. It's anything for off-road vehicles.
Yeah.
I mean, literally anything that's going to be touching dirt and probably has a motor, right? Mm-hmm. You guys have. And so but did it start out as online sales?
No. So we started out as off-road body armor. Actually, me and you were working together at the time at a local Ford dealership, and I was having a kid soon. Back in 2016, I guess I was having a kid, and my first son, which I now have 3. I have a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, 1.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's a lot of work running a business and having 3 kids, and I always joke that I've got a high maintenance wife. She's not too bad, but joke about it. But yeah, so when we were working at the Ford dealership, I was putting a lot of hours in being in sales, and we every time I try to have a date with my wife, a customer would come in, and I'd have to try to sell that car. Well, I might be getting off at 7, but if a customer comes in at 7, I'm going to stay there till 10 o'clock to sell a car. So my wife wasn't very happy with me. I was having a kid. I was like, man, there's got to be something else out there for me. And so I just happened to be stopped by my dad's dealership. My dad owns a Can-Am dealership. And at the time, he was also a Kimco dealership. And I just stopped by there one day after work, and he's like, nobody's making accessories for these machines. Why don't you think about making like some bumpers or something for it? I'm like, man, yeah, you've done really good with those this year. It's kind of an off-brand machine. It's actually, they're kind of partnered with Articat. Kimco's also, they branched off of Honda. So they make quality products, but they're just an off-brand, right? So again, while we were working at the Ford dealership, I'm like, man, yeah. So I thought of the name Off-Road Body Armor is what it originally was, and I'll tell you how that story went into off-road armor, but later. But
now that you say it, I do remember it being off-road body armor.
Yeah.
Because we worked together, and I didn't know you a ton, but we did work just in passing, and somehow I got to know you. Somehow ended up friends with you on Facebook and watched you leave. And I remember it being off-road body armor.
Yeah.
So growing up, you always, because your dad owned this Can-Am dealer. Now, you were just always involved in it? Were you always involved in, this off-road, like cars and just, like vehicles?
Yeah.
Because you went from your dad owning a Can-Am dealer to you working at a dealership. So there's obviously something with motors and vehicles that you just had a passion for there.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I was... I would come back from college, work. I was playing college baseball, and I'd come back for the summer, work for my dad. And we were like Paul Jr. and Paul Sr. from Orange County Choppers. I joke about it. They're like, hey, how'd you really make that step to start your own business? I'm like, well, I just got tired of my dad firing me all the time.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
every
sure.
day we were at each other like,
Yeah.
I'd like move the internet icon on the computer just on purpose.
Just to piss him off.
And he would freak out. Yeah, he would like, where's my internet icon? I can't get on the internet,
Sure,
so yeah, we didn't we got along great outside of work, but at work it was just stressful. And I remember my grandpa, who's now 90. My grandpa was one of the last remaining Purple Hearts from World War II, so I'm pretty proud of him.
Yeah.
But he would come in every afternoon at lunchtime and sit there for a half an hour or so. And I remember he was like, Kurt, Offenberg's hiring, the Ford dealer. And my great grandpa was actually a Ford dealer in little town of Marthasville, Missouri, like 1,000 people. At that time, there might have only been like 250 people, but right along the Katy Trail. And so they were selling Ford automobiles. They were one of the first Alice Chalmers dealers, first Kubota dealer in the Midwest. So yeah, they were into tractors a lot. I know how to drive a tractor. I'm pretty good at it, but I don't know much about them. Like a WD, a series, whatever they are. So I'm not that familiar with it. But yeah, ever since I was a young kid, I raced motocross, raced ATVs, drag raced, so everything motor. And so when my grandpa was like, hey, the Ford dealer's hiring, so I immediately went over there that day, and they hired me. And then I can't remember, were you working at Ford in 2016? Let's see, I got hired on in 2011, actually.
Yeah.
So you were there in 11?
No, I wasn't there in 11. I was there. Well, I only worked there a year.
Yeah.
Because when I was young, I bounced. I literally was every single year I got a new job. Yeah. Just changing around. Just because I hated my boss or I hated the work environment or hated the pay or something. So I was bouncing around, just trying to just get to where I wanted to be in life. But I was only there a year, and then you had left while I was working there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you were like in transition. I remember you were saying like you're going to leave and you're going to start your own business.
Yeah.
And because you would come down for whatever reason, you come down to the body shop, maybe drop cars off or something. And I was always in the office, and so like I got to hear the stories and everything like that. And I remember you saying, "I'm going to go start this company."
Yeah. So it didn't quite go as planned right away,
Oh, really?
No, I think I used that as a scapegoat to get out of there, because I worked 2 other jobs prior to that. But remind me, when you were at the body shop, you were there for a year, isn't there? What were you trying to say earlier about that? You were. What's the story on that? How come you left the body shop, or how come?
It was just an interesting story going all into the body shop because I guess I didn't really. It was a decent job, but like at the time, like I said, I was bouncing job to job, and so, it was kind of crazy because I went from one job where I started out at $9 an hour, went up to $11 an hour. I was just trying to get started in a body shop, I knew nobody in body shop. I had no experience. So I went from starting out at $9 an hour, which is crazy to think someone would start out at $9 an hour when minimum wage is $11.35 right now.
Yeah.
And most people aren't getting paid $11.35. But I started out at 9, and then I ended up getting to 11 there and went to 15 at another body shop in Union, and then I hated it so much. I was actually just painting trailers, and it was like the absolute worst environment ever. And then I got offered a job there to be a body shop manager assistant, but I had to take a $5 an hour pay cut. They freaking ripped me $5 an hour, so I went there, and then actually it was crazy because I was supposed to be a body shop manager assistant. I was like training to be the manager because the manager was supposed to retire in 2 years. But then I got there, and it turns out this dude wasn't going to retire in 2 years. And there just wasn't enough work in the office. So I was out in the body shop, and I guess I was making $11 an hour or something there, but not nearly enough. I was slinging some work out. I was doing quite a bit of work for $11 an hour. And they even told me that I deserved more money. And I was like, well, why aren't you giving me more money? But I'd actually made some really good connections along the way. And actually because of that, like I remember I was like flipping headlights at the time. I've always been like, I've flipped cars, but at the Ford dealership, now they got like the HID things on the back and just like the halos, and a headlight can cost quite a bit of money. I've seen a Ford headlight at over $1,000. Yeah. And so, like, they'll come in, they'll have a broken tab, and I'll just glue the tab back on. And I was selling them on eBay. Yeah. And I was making I was making a couple $100 a week off of that. So I was just like, it things like that taught me how to hustle a lot harder.
Sure.
And so as much as I say I might have not appreciated it at the time, but I also met you, and now this is like how many years later, and we're doing a podcast, and like I was actually nervous to even send you a message.
Oh, I'm glad you did, man.
Because I was like, you never really know, and for everyone that is watching this, they don't know this either, but you travel quite the distance to come out here. It's not.
Yeah, it's a couple hours for me.
Yeah, I'm in Rosebud, and you're out there, and your business is actually. Is it technically located in Lake St. Louis?
No, well, I rented out of my house for like 4 years.
Okay.
So I rented out of my house from my couch, essentially, building it late at night. I tell everybody, and I want to mention, remind me, because I have a story about headlights too, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
So, yeah, I really ran it from my couch late at night. I had 3 little kids. They'd wake up at midnight or 3 o'clock, you have to feed them. And I'd be feeding them with one hand and adding products on the website with the other, at 3 a.m. in the morning. So I tell everybody, I'm like, hey, if you want to get to where you're at, if you want to get to be a successful person, you got to work 7 days a week, and then you got to work 3 more days.
Yeah.
So you got to work 10 days a week. You don't you work a full-time job, which is what I did for 5 years, essentially 4 or 5 years. And then while I was working that full-time job, get home at 5 o'clock, put my kids to bed at 8:30, and work till 12 to 3, so, but I got a cool story. So after I left Offenburg, I went and worked for TimeMet selling titanium to like Boeing and SpaceX for like 9 months. A lot of tribal knowledge in that industry. You got to be like a metallurgist. It was tough. And a lot of it, you had to grow up in it. So everybody had been there for 10 years prior to me.
Right.
And I was like, this is tough. And then there was a global titanium shortage. So I couldn't quote anything. So that was pretty much useless.
So you were sales.
I was in sales, yeah. And they were like, hey, you're going to train for 2 years inside sales. And then you're going to go outside sales for, and you're going to make buku bucks outside sales. But you're never going to be home. And I'm like, man, I started this family. I don't really want that. It's not. And I still had off-road body armor at the time, and I was like, well.
You were working on that on the side.
Yeah, that was still on the side. So, I decided to quit that and go work for a salvage yard of all things, as a sales rep for a salvage yard. So I went up to a local salvage yard. They gave me a job, and my job was to be an outside sales rep. So every day I would just drive around St. Louis, Columbia, Missouri, Illinois, and just go to all these body shops and repair shops. So while I was working in the salvage industry, speaking of headlights, I created probably the nation's only consignment program for used parts. And what I did was I would go into these body shops, and they'd have racks of headlights and fenders and taillights and stuff. And, say you got a Cadillac or a Lincoln or Mustang, those headlights, those HID headlights are $1,000 new.
Yeah.
So,
because they have ballasts built into the back of them.
Yeah.
And so that's what really starts to add up. But when you get the halos and the projectors and all these other things, which comes standard, they got the LEDs built into them. Yeah, they really add up nowadays.
Yeah, they do. And so I've seen, just much as like you did, I've seen the value in that. And if you get into a car wreck and you get a scratch on that headlight, well, insurance is going to replace it. So these body shops would keep these headlights laying around because, again, they're like, man, we might be able to fix this, a tab broken or something on there. So what I would do is I would take them in on consignment. And I put them on, if we put them in our system, they would be on car-part.com, eBay, all this stuff. And we might sell it for $800 and we keep 50% of it. So the body shop would get 400, we'd get 400. It worked out great. I brought millions of dollars worth of body parts in, and I'm sure they're still selling them now since I've quit, But, some of the stuff like axles for Jeeps and stuff like that we'd bring in. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's crazy you actually did that. And it's really just like, I don't know, the entrepreneurial thing. Like people, like you, if you really want it and if you're just focused on how can I make some money and you just keep your eyes open all the time, you can definitely find something. It's crazy that we both did headlights like that.
Yeah, we're pretty similar in that aspect.
And where we were working there, it was great because we were always working on brand new cars. So it was always these super expensive ones. Some body shops you get into, the last body shop I ever worked in, we just worked on it was just anything and everything. I tried it, but there just wasn't no money in it there because it was a cheaper style headlights most of the time. Yeah. Every now and then, I would get one. But I remember if you're working at the right place, I mean, you can just like I was making a couple $100 a week, easy too. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm fixing something else. I just glue this tab back on. Like you said, it has a scratch on it. Yeah. And I just tell everyone, I'm like, hey, it's got a scratch. But if someone, you know, I list them on eBay, just eBay, and you know, when you're selling on there and someone's rebuilding a car, you know, they're probably like maybe someone's just buying it to flip it. Or I know a lot of guys that will, and I've done it myself too. I will buy a car wrecked, I'll fix it up, and I'll drive it for like a year or two, put some miles on it, and then sell it. And if it's just a little scratch on the headlight, nobody really gives a damn. You only care if the insurance is paying for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like whenever it comes to you having to pay for it, everyone's like, scratch, that's nothing. Or a tab that's broke that's glued back on that when the hood's closed, you can't see it anyway. Yep. People really don't care. No. It's only whenever insurance is doing it. Let me double check the cameras, just make sure they're going, and then we can keep on going.
Sounds good.
I just want to make sure.
I need to find a more comfortable spot.
I need to carry this. Still good on gear?
Yeah, we're good.
Cool.
We're good.
So, all right. So moving on from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did it like progress into what it is now? Because you said you were doing it at your house. Do you do it at your house still?
Yeah, I mean, everybody still kind of works from home, being an online e-commerce store. Everybody kind of works from home. We've got Maya, who is submitting our orders. She's from Marthasville area, Washington area. I've got Steve, obviously, who lives in the same apartment as Maya for about a month now, or, you know, about a month more. She's actually moving, but yeah. And then we've got Kevin Grazza, who's like a distant cousin of mine from, which you might not even know Kevin Grazza.
I don't think so.
The Grazzas. Well, anyways, there's a lot of them. So Kevin works at home half the time, works in his dad's shop half the time, you know. But and then I work from home, but I'm bouncing around a lot, you know, doing a lot of I guess PR work like we're doing today, and then I've got my cousin Cole who came on board to work for us full time, and I have him do a lot of mechanical stuff. But my dad, actually, who's got the shop still, he's looking at retiring in a couple years, you know, and I wanted him. So he's working for my dad right now, and he's learning so much, and I'm so proud of him. He's 21 years old. Like, we went racing the other day, and this dude is changing axles out in a half an hour, you know, which normally would take anybody else.
What's his name?
Cole Mergelmeyer. Yeah.
And that's not. Now, you guys have somebody that you sponsor the race too, right?
So we sponsor
we don't have to jump into that. We can finish up what we're talking about here, but those two guys aren't the same guy.
No.
So two totally okay.
Yeah.
Okay, two totally different guys.
Yeah. Yep. So you know, we've been very fortunate. I mean, I'll be honest, COVID really helped us. So when I quit,
COVID helped you.
COVID really helped us. Yeah.
That's cool to hear.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah. You know, I would think the e-commerce industry, nobody could do anything but go shopping online, or they like, for example, my dad's shop, they had to shut their front doors, but being the only one in the that area, they actually did more business out the back door than they've ever done in the front door during COVID. Because the off-road industry and the camping industry just boomed. You couldn't do anything but go camping.
Everybody was buying RVs. Yeah. And now you drive by some of these RV parks, and they are full. Yeah. Like it's like a trailer park on steroids. And like, I just don't, I get the like RV lifestyle, like to want to do it and travel and like not have like all this crazy overhead and stuff. But if you go camping for a while in those things, eventually like, it's not that great. Like, you're like, I need some space. Yeah. Like, get away from me. Like, I've had girlfriends, and we lived in the same house, and sometimes I'm like, get freaking away from me. Like, I need, like, my own space for a while. Yeah. And so living in these RVs, and then I watch these people live in these RVs in RV parks, and they're just stacked on top of each other. I'm like, you guys can't tell me you're enjoying that. You guys don't have a yard. You guys have a canopy with your cheap chairs out there, and there's just people all around you, and I don't know, like, I just don't understand it. I get it for a little bit, but I couldn't do it for a lifestyle.
Yeah, a week is cool. You know, a weekend is even better because then you can go sleep in your own bed. But I mean, we do, most of our stuff is off-road events. You know, we mostly go camp at off-road events. Now my wife tries to get me to camp at other places. We do sometimes, but just for a weekend or so. But yeah, we've got a 44-foot toy hauler that we can put the side by side in, and so I know exactly what you mean though. Yeah, you're just you're kind of secluded to under your awning,
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I did forget to mention, I guess a few things is, in business, after my dad had recommended, hey, you should make some accessories for these, I did start designing. I'd sit at my office at Offenberg waiting for a customer to come in, and I took a picture of the front of this side by side, and I just was drawing like a front bumper on it. I just printed off a ton of them and drew a front bumper, and then I was like, man, that looks sick. I need to make that. So I brought that to a buddy of mine who worked for a fab place. And I paid him actually how I got started was I did some work for my grandpa. They're 97 now. So 6 years ago, they were still 90. And he gave me 3 acres of property on our farm. And I took a loan on that 3 acres. I got $14,000. And that's how I started my business. So did some work for my grandpa. He gave me 3 acres, took a business loan on it, which I was grateful for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I got very lucky getting that because I didn't have much credit established either. And then I took that money and I started building this bumper, right?
Can I stop you just for a second?
Yeah.
I want to just talk about how you got that 3 acres and how you turned that into an opportunity, because a lot of people would if they got 3 acres given to them, they'd be like, okay, well, what do I do with 3 acres? Maybe build a house on it and put a well on it. And that's where most people's minds go, is like, oh, maybe I could build a house on it, or maybe I could just resell it and try to make some money on it. But you looked at it as like, oh, I have this and I can use a little bit of leverage from it. So you took the money from it.
Yeah.
You got to keep the land and then you got to reinvest it.
Yeah.
And so that's an opportunity right there of itself. And a lot of people don't even see the opportunity, but you were looking for opportunity. So you found it. So you had to find it. You might have had someone give you 3 acres, but it wasn't like it would just, you still had to put in some work.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be able to just find the opportunity and go for it. Just like the headlights, you got to be able to see that opportunity. Most people just be like, oh, this is a junk headlight. It's scratched, it's broke, throw it in the trash. But you can see the opportunity in it and go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my wife is a teacher. She's not teaching right now because we got a 1-year-old, but even at her elementary school, I'll talk to the janitors and I'm like, listen, hey, is this what you wanted to do in life, be a janitor? And they're like, oh, no, of course not. I would love to, I have inspirations to do this and that. And I'm like, listen, every single day you're working with janitorial supplies and stuff like that. And I bet everybody wishes they could have another hand, but I bet you wish you could have another, something else to help you out. And I was like, just every day, think about what you can invent or develop or something like that to better make your job easier.
Yeah.
And that's the way my mind thinks.
Same, man.
My wife hates me because of that, because I'm always think she's like, dude, give it a rest, But I don't ever give it a rest.
It definitely seems like the general consensus between, and I don't even like to call myself an entrepreneur, but it definitely seems like it's the general consensus between an entrepreneur. Because I was just talking to the guy the other day, and he's probably 50 years old now, and he's done quite a bit, and he just talks about how he butts heads with his wife a lot, and that's a big reason why I'm single right now, is because these girls I've dated, they just don't see eye to eye with me, and I'm like, this is obviously not going to work out, and so I've kind of just known to step away from it, and I'm like, I got to find someone that has the same mindset as me, because I'm not changing. It's one of those things when it's like engraved in you, and it seems like it really is engraved in you, because like your grandpa owned a Ford dealership, your dad owns that Can-Am dealership, and now you own your own business. I mean, it was almost inevitable that you were going to own your own business. Yeah, you had to put in the work. Nothing was given to you, but at the same time, like you had to put it. It was almost destined to happen. Yeah, it was just like what you want. Like it pulled you in. Yeah, whether you liked it or not.
Every single day I have this talk with my wife, and I'm like, listen, I want to be here as much time as I can for the kids. I want to be here with you as much time, but you have to understand that you're not working, and there's a reason why you don't have to work. There's a reason why you get to spend that time, is because I'm sacrificing my time. And yes, am I passionate about it? Yeah. Do I love doing it? Yes, but also at the same time,
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
Yeah.
They shouldn't make you feel bad about
loving,
being able to work and love it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's how it should be. You should love what you do.
I'm very fortunate. My wife does see that she's selfish sometimes, and she's like, "Hey, listen, I was being very selfish. You know, like I understand what you're doing. You know, and that is, I love her to death. She's very old fashioned, and she's working a full time job too with the 3 kids. So a lot of times when I get home from a long day, she like just tosses me the kids and like, hey, I gotta go read or something. You know, I need a moment to myself, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But then I understand 3 kids under 6 is hard. It's super
She's
hard.
wanting to take off now.
Yeah.
Because she's literally been 3 kids is a lot.
It's tough.
I don't have 3 kids, but I have some friends that had 3 kids, and I'm around them for an hour, and I'm like, dude, you're tough, man.
It's good birth control.
Yeah.
You come hang out with me, it's great birth control.
Yeah, exactly. Like whenever I'd hang around them for a while, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I need kids for a while. Yeah. A little bit longer is good.
Yeah, it's tough. But anyways, back to like the getting the property and starting that. I gave this plan and idea to a buddy of mine who we went to high school with. Me and Steve both graduated back in 2006 from high school, and he was working at a fab shop, and unfortunately that shop went under. They went under like as they were doing our bumpers. So I lost my money essentially. I mean, I still like as of a couple of years ago, I still had the IRS calling me asking me if I owed him any money because he owed them money. You know, so that was really tough.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
You paid him to make you these bumpers, and as you had paying him, he was supposed to be making them. They went under.
Yeah. So he did finish the bumpers. Like literally, I seen them after they went under, and because my buddy called me, he's like, "Hey, we got these done," and I go to them, and so he was the engineer for them. So he developed them. He wasn't the one bending them. He wasn't the one welding them, and I, we were starting with the first run of 10 of them, and obviously the jig costed a lot of money. You got to have a jig for metal, and yeah, I look at them and I'm like, "What are those?" I was like, "No, those can't be what you made."
Oh, they turned out bad.
They were so bad. I mean, they were useless. Like they were all sitting on the ground in a row, and then like one of them's this way, one of them's this way. Like the welds were splattered everywhere. They were just so bad.
So whoever made them, whoever actually bent the metal and welded them together,
terrible job. I couldn't do anything with them, and
you paid in advance.
Yeah. So they were done. I mean, I think I scrapped them like a couple years ago. I just told my dad, I was like, hey, if you need to get all that metal out of there, scrap them. They're useless. So
yeah, it provides me nothing.
That was tough. So then just so happened
that was all the 3 acres?
That was probably at least 2/3 of it. Yeah.
And you got to pay that back.
Yeah. It was tough. Yeah. So I found through networking, I found some guys that were way out in the country that just didn't want to even be known for doing this stuff. They just did it out of their garage, so what I was doing was taking all the bent. I would go get the bent pieces done in a local town nearby. I'd bring it to a guy that I was an acquaintance with. Didn't really know him, but he did a great job. He was a great welder. So he would weld up all these bumpers. I would literally take them right down his gravel road. I mean, it was like an hour away, out in the middle of kind of like where we are today.
Yeah.
But way out gravel roads. I mean, you take gravel roads for miles, and they would powder coat them. And so
they were welding and powder coating shop?
Yeah. So the welder would be in one house, and then like 2 miles down this gravel road would be the powder coating shop, which they did a lot of fabricating as well, but mainly for Jeeps. And I would literally get there, and they'd be passed out on their floor from the night before welding underneath of their Jeeps. Like that was... Like, I would literally have to kick them to wake them up.
Oh, they were out there welding for so long they fell asleep on the concrete floor?
They would just get so hammered. They would just be...
they were drinking and...
Oh, yeah. They'd just be hammered, drinking moonshine probably, much like what the back of our shirts say, by the way.
Oh, you want...
Show our Mud Mills and Moonshine.
That's an awesome shirt, by the way. This thing's clean, dude. It even feels good.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just the materials, man.
By the way, this is our own brand. This is our own brand of off-road armor apparel.
You can get these shirts on your website?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it all on there?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So, but anyways, we would go and I'd get these powder coated, and I was spending so much time driving. My wife was like, "Are you ever going to spend any time?" Actually, my girlfriend at the time, she wasn't even my wife, but yeah. So then I was like, man, I gotta. Actually, what happened was this guy from New Zealand found my products, and he was like, hey, and at that point, we're making front bumpers, we're making some tree kickers, we're making some bed rails, so like toppers for bed rails. So say you're like tossing wood into the back of your side-by-side bed. And again, this is all for the Kimco UXV 450. We made a rear bumper, and then we started making some doors for it. So we were the only ones in the world making any of these accessories for it. And this guy from New Zealand found some of my products, Mike Pope, and if you ever listen to this, I appreciate everything you've done for us. And he was like, hey, I'd love to add your products to the website. And I was like, sweet, yeah, of course. Like, he had a U.S.-based website, but he was based out of New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And so we're just talking for 6 months to a year or whatever. And I think this was probably like 2017 or 18 at this point, and we started selling a couple of them to Australia and New Zealand and like Brazil, and we're shipping this stuff all over the world. But I wasn't making any money. It was just, at this point, it was all literally just like getting my foot in the door to this business and
getting your product out there and breaking even.
Yeah, I probably was losing money.
Have you ever heard of a loss lead before?
Oh, what is it?
It's called a loss lead. Huh. It's like a business strategy where people, especially in the e-commerce world, any product, you can take any product. And I learned this, there's the whole documentary on diapers.com. And basically, it's where you take a product and you put it on your website and you sell it for less. You sell it for cheaper than anybody else is selling it for. Okay. Where it's a loss. You're actually losing money on it, but you're directing traffic to your site. And then the other products on the site you start to sell are at the same price. So everybody comes there for that cheaper product, but then they buy products, the other products on there, and then that's how and ends up how you get in all this business.
Sure.
So you lose. So they were going to Costco buying this diapers.com. They were going to Costco. Buying Costco out of all their diapers, skids at a time, and then sell them on diapers.com. And then everybody would go diapers.com, buy the diapers, and then they would sell like baby formula and wipes and everything at normal price. And that's how they...
Huh. It's like gas stations.
Yeah.
Lost
People go
lead.
there for the gas. They don't make that much money on gas.
Yeah.
They make money on the stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we lose money sometimes on ours because like a manufacturer might not tell us they raised their price. And then we lose money, but we always, as a business, we always tell the customer, "Hey, listen, just want you to know we're losing money on this. I'd rather not lose money. Do you think we could break even?" And most customers are like, "Yeah, I understand. That's the way the world is going these days. It's hard to keep up." And most customers are completely understanding that. Hey, I might have to throw in an extra $50 as long as we have that open communication. I think that's what Off-Road Armor. First off, we speak English. You can understand us, unlike most other online e-commerce stores. Secondly, we know what we're talking about, and we're friendly. I tell everybody, I treat them like I was going to go out that next week and have some beers with them on the trails. Yeah. Because sure enough, I'm hoping to see a lot of my customers out there on the trails, and whether it be here in Missouri or out in California or Michigan. We sell a ton up to Michigan.
I drove there.
Oh yeah, that's right, you did.
You drove there to deliver a
customer their doors.
Yeah, we needed it.
Really? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, that is.
Steven, let's hear this.
Yeah,
what even happened? Their order got messed up the first time around. They got the wrong set of doors.
Like you guys accidentally sent them the wrong set?
Yeah, and then what happened the second time?
I think they
was
had
it the wrong set again or something?
No, I think what happened was they had like they had like an 18.5 Ranger, and like the 18.5 or later, the 19 Rangers are certain doors, and like the 18s are certain doors, and I think they...
Oh, it was like a changeover year.
Yeah, it was like a changeover year, so I think they, of course, we sent them like the 18 and under doors when they needed the 18 and above doors, or 18 and a half above doors, so they were really nice people.
Super nice.
Steve drove all the way up to Michigan.
Like 9 hours, something like that.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Just to deliver it. There's no way you make money on that order.
No.
That was customer service at its best.
Yeah,
they
no
loved
joke.
us.
That's awesome. That's actually a really incredible story.
Yeah.
Now, like, was it in the winter or summer? Because the winters can get nasty there, right?
I think It was either spring or fall. I think it was fall, maybe.
So it was
It
decent
was
weather?
nice. It was beautiful, beautiful.
Last fall, maybe last fall. But yeah, we bend over backwards for all of our customers. I mean, we are a customer. Like, we like buying accessories, so we know how it is. We deal with a lot of other manufacturers, and we know how to take care of people. And I think that's why we've gotten as far as we are today. But anyways, back to losing money in off-road armor, off-road body armor at the time. We were, I was spinning my wheels, and then so after talking to Mike from New Zealand, and at this point I think I'm working at the salvage. I think I'm like a year into the salvage industry, being a sales rep. He's like, I would love to have a U.S. sales rep, because obviously over there during the day he's sleeping, so like he can't really take a lot of phone calls. It's all by email, and people want, this industry, the UTV and side-by-side industry is still, our clientele is 18 years old to 100. I think I've had a 99-year-old guy. I could barely hear him and I think he was like foreign too. It was like French, so I couldn't really understand him. But yeah, I mean, so you got a lot of people that still don't have computers and that buy from us. They get our phone number from their friend who bought something from us, and my point of that was, I don't remember now. I'm here. Have another drink.
Yeah, well, yeah, we were just. That's funny.
Anyways, so customer service, obviously we take the call, but we really pride ourselves into going the extra mile. Like, what was I saying though?
The extra 400 miles.
The extra 400 miles. What was I saying?
Well, the guy from New Zealand.
Oh yeah,
Let me ask you about that real quick.
Yeah,
so
that's what we were talking about.
he owned a different business, right?
So he
owned a totally different business, and you were working. You had Offroad Body Armor at the time.
Yeah.
Previous name still.
Yep.
But you were also working at a salvage yard, right?
Yeah.
Or were you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so
still
how
that's
did
right.
this guy? I want to know. Like, this guy found Offroad Body Armor, and he had his own website.
Yeah. Yep.
And how did you guys make the connection? He wanted to sell your product that you had on his website.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, now I'm back to where we were at
Yeah,
there.
sure.
As you can see, my brain gets scatterbrained because
I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
You're talking and then you start spiraling off on other things.
Oh,
Man.
there's
I do it all the time.
So many small details.
Can I ask you, like, do you ever read any books? You guys watch any motivational podcasts? Like, do you ever like do anything for like learning and bettering yourself in business or just like in the future? Like, do you do anything like that?
So, speaking of like podcasts, honestly, when you have 3 kids and you're driving, because most people listen to a podcast while they're driving, I don't listen to any music. I don't listen to the radio. I don't like listening to the news. That's stupid. I think. I literally drive. So like from Lake St. Louis to Marthasville is about a half an hour. And sometimes I get all the way to Marthasville and I'm like, man, I don't even remember like driving here.
Yeah.
Because that's all my brain is doing is thinking. That's my quiet time. So I don't really have much time to read per se. Now, granted, I do go online and or Facebook and I'll read other people's stories and see what they do. And but when I have downtime, really what I'm doing is I'm on social media promoting our brand. So
You're in
always.
it. You're just in it so much that you don't have time for anything else.
I don't really have much time to read, especially with 3 kids.
Sure.
Time to read hardly.
The only reason I was asking is because I've seen him talk to a lot of people, and it seems like we're very similar, like on the mindset thing, and how you were just saying, like you were in the middle of a story,
Yeah.
and like you're also thinking while you're telling the story,
Yeah.
and so sometimes your brain kind of goes off in another direction, and then I've talked to people about reading books or listening to like motivational podcasts or just motivation or like watching documentaries or something. And as you're doing it, it's spiraling ideas.
Yeah.
Because this book's supposed to be teaching you something, but all of a sudden you're thinking about how can I take what I just learned and then implement it into my business. And so a lot of times I'll do the same thing. I'll start reading a book. I'll get into a chapter where I learned something, and I'll read a whole chapter, and I don't even remember what I just read because now I'm thinking about how I can apply it to my business or how I can apply it to my life.
Yeah.
And so I totally understand that. I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, my motivation, I've got a couple things. So I heard a very wealthy guy once say, hey, if you want to be an entrepreneur, have kids. And I 100% disagree and 100% agree. 100% disagree. You'll advance so much more if you don't have kids, but at the same time, they're their motivation.
Yeah.
They're my motivation. Actually, we went to an off-road park, and my kids got the inside of my truck so muddy. I mean, just mud caked everywhere. And I cleaned up everything but my steering wheel. And my wife's like, why do you keep that there? I'm like, that's motivation. I was like, every day I get in my truck, and I see this mud smear on over the Ford emblem. And I swear I've got the oil changed, and like, what do you do? Why don't you just clean that off? And I'm like, no, because that reminds me why I'm doing this every day. You know, that reminds me why I grind so hard, and that reminds me of why I'm driving to where I'm driving. You know, whether it be 6 hours away for an event or 3 hours away. But yeah, so back to Mike Pope from New Zealand.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I'd love to have a U.S. sales rep. I was like, heck yeah, what do I do? And he's like, just take calls, take the orders, you know, refer them back to the website, answer the questions that they have, and I'll give you a cut. And so while I'm going literally from body shop to repair shop, and there might be like 5 minutes in between, I'm taking phone calls, right? On the drive, 5 minutes, I'll write their information down, then I'll call them later that night, or I'll get what they need, and I'll send them a PayPal invoice. You know, they'll pay the PayPal invoice. I send the order to Mike. Mike sends it over to, and he was really one of the largest enclosure retailers in the world there for a little while, from 3 Star Industries out of Carlisle, Kentucky. So they're made in the U.S., and granted, he's living in New Zealand, but he's still selling in the U.S., and Canada, and Mexico.
Building and selling.
So they are soft enclosures and windshields is what he primarily did. And so they would sew it. They bought an old Haynes factory, rehired all the Haynes employees, and they were having these ladies sew these enclosures up. It was really neat.
In Kentucky.
In Kentucky, yeah. So that's what we were really selling. And then the windshields were, Lexan was coming in. They cut the Lexan out and cut the holes out for the vents and all that good stuff. And so I did that for like a year and a half, 2 years, being his, you know, U.S. sales rep, taking tons of phone calls. And I just remember like the calls were getting so overwhelming that's kind of when I had to make that choice to jump ship from the salvage industry to working on myself. So like I think I quit full time in November of 2019, and then obviously, as we know, COVID hit March of 2020. But I had just started like my own website. I was thinking to myself, like in 2019, I'm like, man.
You never even had a website yet.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I made it myself. It was terrible. Yeah, it was like literally MySpace-ish, you know?
Yeah.
It was like where you put the code in yourself, and it was terrible. You know, it was awful. Sure. You can still go back to the Wayback Machine and see. You ever seen Wayback Machine? You can check out old websites like Amazon from 2000.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like a website you go to?
Yeah.
And put it on a website?
Yeah. So you can go back and search like off-road body armor from 2000.
How can they do that?
It's crazy. It's just saved. You know, it's all
Everything's
saved
on the internet.
It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Wayback Machine. Check it out.
Well, it's amazing. Yeah. You know, websites, and they're just getting crazier and crazier. You know, it's a freaking takes a lot of work to make a website.
It does, yeah.
A lot of work.
Fortunately, it's user-friendly now. It's like we use WordPress with WooCommerce, very user-friendly. I've done a lot of it myself. You know, you just choose a theme, and then they've got Shopify and BigCommerce and those type of platforms.
Your website's very smooth to go through.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
It really is, because I went just yesterday when we were talking. I wanted to go through it and just check it out and see. I'm always interested in checking it out because it helps me reflect onto my website and how I can improve on it. Sure. And I actually am starting in a whole different world. Yeah. You know, in the fitness industry, I'm starting to go into the e-commerce world too.
Awesome, man.
And so I'm wanting to sell. Like I got my basement here. Like I mean, it's getting pretty low right now, but I'm stocking with supplements.
Sweet.
And I've been trying to sell them online and try to help people out there. And so I really like to watch it. And yeah, I just remember it's very easy to see. It's not like hard on the eyes. Some of them got a lot of crap going on, or maybe it doesn't scroll properly or something like that. But yours is very smooth, very simple, very clean. I wouldn't say so much simple, but it wasn't very hard to figure out. Like It was very user friendly. Yeah, I thought it was great. It had everything on it too.
Well, I'm 34 years old, and when you come from a small town where everybody works the hardest to earn a dollar, but yet you're young enough to where we grew up with computers, you kind of we're like the last. I would say, how old are you again?
I'm 29.
So you're that new age where you've had computers pretty much your entire life.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting. But I haven't though because just the way I grew up. I grew up really poor, and so like I had dial up. I think I had dial up all the way through high school even. And I think it wasn't until like my junior or senior year in high school that I got like DSL, like fast internet. So I know when you say that, I know exactly what you're saying. Because like, we didn't have the internet. So, and I was just a hustler from day one, and I didn't even know it. Like my dad was a hard worker, and he just instilled that in me.
Sure.
And like there wasn't, not to say that I love my dad. My dad's a freaking awesome dude. He didn't hug me very much, like that. There wasn't like that kind of. But the one thing he did teach me was both of my parents taught me to be a really good person and to work very, very hard. And honestly, if there's like a couple traits that I could get out of someone, those are two things I'm very, very grateful for. Yeah. And so I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. You got that hard hustle, hard work ethic from growing up without the internet and just having the, without the internet, what do? You got to go outside and do something, or you got to stay active. And then you got this whole like internet crazy fad thing coming in and just imploding in the center. Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to create a website was because I was having kids, and I'm like, man, I'd love to spend more time with my kids. Thinking that being an entrepreneur and having this website to do all the work for you, to take your orders and stuff, thinking I thought I'd have more time, but I don't. Unfortunately, because I'm got that entrepreneurial mind, and I'm always looking to advance, So my wife always reminds me, she's like, hey, remember why you did this too? You did this to spend more time with us. And I'm like, dang, you're right, Whoops. But
you'll have all the time in the world in the future.
That's what I tell her. I'm like, listen, hey, maybe in 5 years or something we get bought out, and then I can, because I've had quite a few people approach us recently to invest in us or purchase us. So
I would say, wouldn't the idea of getting bought out is nice, but one lump sum is nice, but then all of a sudden now you have a lump sum that will deplete eventually. Yeah. And you have one, you make one bad mistake, or you make a few bad mistakes, buy some things that you shouldn't, maybe a car that falls apart or something like that, and then all this money disappears. Or you have a bunch of money, you don't realize how quick it depletes. And the problem is you have no other money coming in. Yeah. But if you sold where you keep like maybe 10, 20% of the company, where you still get paid, even if it's a little bit, where you can go start something else, but if something else doesn't work out or it takes a little bit longer, you still get a little bit of money back. I think as hard as that is to see, I think that's like, I feel like it's the way to go.
I think you're right. I ask myself every day, what would it take if somebody was to offer me, what would it take for me to sell out? But also, do I want to leave a legacy for my kids? Like, do I want to, I've got my 6-year-old here in 10 years, he can start working for me. And if I have that, does he want to work for me, or does he, that's one of the things you ask yourself.
He has the option.
Yes, exactly.
He has the option. And that's something I like. And it's probably a good thing I didn't have it, because it instilled this hard work into me and like to want to go get my own. But at the same time, it was something that I remember always growing up, and my parents just let me do whatever I want. Not like just run wild, but like they didn't. My parents weren't like doctors and lawyers, and they're like, this is what you should be in life. Yeah. My dad worked in a rock quarry. My mom was a receptionist at a doctor's office, and they supported me with whatever I did, but I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And I went through a lot of things that I tried, and I realized I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. And so then I went and had to do something else. And through that, I found out my true passions in life. Yeah. And I think that's really important. And I watched some people that, maybe just fell into a position and they're not really happy. They just went there. But I do remember growing up, and I'm like, man, I wish I had that. But also maybe, I'm probably better I didn't. Yeah. So what is the right thing? What is like, because you want to be able to provide. And actually, I say that, but there's a lot of people that, that end up like, maybe like for you and your family, like your dad or your grandpa was a Ford dealership. That was in motors. Your dad owns a dealership, Can-Am dealership. That's more vehicles, and then you, same thing. Like maybe you guys found your niche, and maybe because there's people also, that that take, like, you just basically planted a seed, and then your son really likes it and sees the joys in it, and see, like, maybe he likes doing the off-road stuff and likes it all, and he really takes it to another level. Because I've seen that a lot too, and that is exactly probably what you want. And it's also, the more I think about it, I actually see that a lot, because I know a guy that owns a powder coating shop, and they did the same thing. The dad started it, and it was okay. You know, it was like the average man's like good business, but they took it to another level. And it was actually same thing. It was 3 boys, and you got 3 boys, right?
Yep.
And they are just growing immensely, like an insane amount. And because they didn't have, you know, you might have a little fear that they don't have, like that fear of, like, you know, putting the money in and starting and losing it, but it's already established, and they have the confidence to go in and be like, okay, we can really take it to another level. They don't, because they haven't been through some of the stuff that, you know, you losing money on the land and having these bad parts that went bad, that sometimes in life that could hold people back. It's almost like a little bit of a crutch. And so I think that you never really know. You know, you never really know. It could go either direction.
I think it's all your mentality. You know, I've seen people that have had that opportunity and they just blow it because their mentality wasn't there, you know? And then I've, you know, like in my case, like, I feel like I've got something to prove. Like, you know, I want to prove a lot of people wrong. I've been told, right when I was starting this business, I was told by, you know, several people that, oh, hey, good luck, you know, like, that's never going to work. I've already had a bunch of buddies that try that, you know, and like, so every single day that is my inspiration too. Like, telling people that they can't do something. I love it. Yeah. I hope everybody tells me that I can't do it, because
same.
That is just,
tell me I can't do it. I'll do it just to prove you wrong.
Exactly. That's what I'm here for.
Why do people hate so much? Like, why is that the initial thing? Like, when someone tries something new, to just instantly shut it down, to not support it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, even me with this podcast here, I have people that I've been friends with my whole life that they won't even give it a like on Facebook, won't even go watch it, nothing, man. Yeah. Or like anything I do, it's just like, why? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
I think, I mean, obviously it comes down to jealousy. I think a lot of it's just, you know, they don't have the ambition, and so they just want people to fall in their path, and their path of just being just here. You know, like I remember hearing something like, throughout the day, say you take 100% of your day, you know, we're on autopilot like 99% of the day. Yeah. And so, like, if you can really just take that down to say like 95% of your day you're on autopilot and 5% you're actually thinking about what you're doing, I think that would be that's what separates us from unsuccessful people that are stuck in a rut. You know what I mean? And everybody, I do feel like everybody, like, for example, Steve being in my life, you know, being my friend. And then we lost touch. We didn't talk for like 10 years. I mean, you went off and did your own thing. And then, you know, just so happened you're here back in my life, and we're doing great. I got a couple cool stories I want to share with you guys about Steve too. Let's hear it. Steve, there's some times where, like, Steve will just, like, for example, forget your hat. He had 2 things to do this morning: to get a shirt and a hat, and he forgot the hat. So anyways, but there's a reason why, he is like my right-hand man, is because there's been times where I've wanted to just call it a night. And I'm going to tell you this cool story here in a second. I've wanted to call it a night. And he's like, dude, but what if there's 5% chance? And I'll get into that here in a second. Cool. But what I wanted to mention was, like 2019, when I quit my job, you know, there's that point where everybody's like, what made you quit your job and go on your own? And really, I guess I could say I was fortunate. My boss actually kind of really did piss me off one Friday. I had found some dog tags. You know, working at a salvage yard, we got a lot of totaled vehicles in, and I had found some dog tags on the steering wheel. The guy probably had died in this car accident. I didn't know, but it was demolished. And so I took them off, and I went into my boss's office, which I'd done a million times, and I grabbed an envelope, and he was having a bad day, and he just took his bad day out on me, which, you know, it happens, right? But I was like,
excuse, though.
Yeah,
it's not an excuse.
That was a tough. But I'm glad
you
he did
don't
it.
take your anger out on someone else.
Yeah,
take it out on the gym. Take it out on go kickboxing, go run, Go take it out on something else. You don't take it out on someone else.
Yeah, it was a tough, but then again, I'm glad he did it. I'm glad, like, certain instances where your dad was hard on you, you're glad he was, because it got you to where you're at. I'm glad my boss did that day, because I thought about it. I sat down and I remember he later that day, it was a Friday, and later that day he sat a beer in front of me. He's like, "Hey, sorry about that, man. I was just didn't quite know what you were doing," and I was like, "Hey, man, I just got to send these dog tags to the Pentagon. If anybody ever needs to know, if you find some dog tags, you send them to the Pentagon, and they find their family or the rightful owner, right?"
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I had no clue. That's cool.
Yeah, so I did that, and you know what? I was like, as I'm drinking a beer with him, I'm like, "Hey, it's gonna be my last day today." He's like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." I was like, I'm just ready to go off and do my own thing, and it just hit me like. It's kind of been coming, but you've sealed the deal for me, and I appreciate the last 3 years you've given me. And so I went off on my own, and I remember going on vacation. You know what? We went to Branson. We went to Big Cedar Lodge for Christmas. That in December, obviously. Christmas would be in December, yeah.
Sure.
So
every time I checked, it was.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes my kids like to ask for presents all year round.
Yeah.
And it's like Christmas all year round.
Yeah, it's Christmas in July too.
I remember like January 1st or something coming back or whatever from Big Cedar Lodge, and I've got this 3-hour drive. My wife and kids are all sleeping, and again, not listening to the radio, just thinking. And I'm like, man, Offroad Body Armor is just too long. It's 4 words. It's just too long of a brand. It's hard to promote. I need to shorten it down. So I'm like, Offroad Armor, like making off-road one word and armor the other. So I got two names. And so I got online and I'm looking, and sure enough, the website's available for $2,000. And I'm like, I got to do it. So I remember stopping off. $2,000 is what that Offroad Armor website cost. And
just the name,
Offroad Armor. And so,
dang.
Yeah, I immediately got on the phone with GoDaddy. I'm like, "Hey, I want to buy this. Let's get it done now." I bought it, and my wife and I talked to my mom and my dad. I was like, "Hey, I'm getting ready to spend a couple grand on this website." They were like, "Are you sure? You already kind of got a website. You got a brand." And I'm like, "No, it needs to be changed. It needs to be changed." And
those micro fixes, like it seems so small, but also can be really, really impactful.
And I think that was one of the. Steve tells me every day, he's like, "Dude, your brand is so sick. Like, it's one of those." You got Under Armour. So you wouldn't believe how many people are like, "Hey, how's Under Armour? Offroad Armor doing?" I'm like, you just compared me to a $7 billion company.
Yeah. That's a compliment for sure.
Body Armor.
And Body Armor sports drink, which just sold for millions. And
really?
And so, I did that. And that was like literally January 2020. And so we were out of business. Like, whenever you buy a new website, you got to switch over the hosting, the everything over. So we were out of business literally from, January to like middle of February into 2020. And then COVID hit. And I remember sitting on the couch and I look at my wife and I'm like, well, I'm going to need to go get another job.
Yeah.
The first week of COVID, no one did anything. The world stopped.
Yeah.
And
everybody thought they were going to die.
All thought we were going to die.
Yeah.
Not really us coming from the country.
Yeah.
It was just another day. I'm like, I put a lot worse stuff in my body than a sickness.
Sure, yeah.
So,
it's going to take a lot to take me down.
I've worked on a lot of cars and eaten a lot of chips with oil all over my hands and stuff and grease and stuff. I joke to everybody. I'm like, I don't ever wash my hands ever.
Yeah.
And I've been training my system for 10 years now.
Sure.
But anyways, and so COVID hit. Look at my wife. I'm like, I'm going to have to go get like just another job. And this ain't going to work. And then boom, it took off like a week later. The orders started coming in. I remember we had this trailer. That we were selling for like $450 that you pull behind your ATV or your side-by-side or tractor even. And we were competing with like Tractor Supply and Lowe's for it. But when you see Tractor Supply, say like
so
on
the
Google
trailer
Ads,
is what was selling?
We sold so many trailers. It was crazy. Yeah. Who would have thought? Off-road armor, we're just selling trailers, right?
Yeah.
And we still, to this day, sell a ton of them. I mean, we sell a few a day, I feel
I have
like.
one sitting in my living room. Still.
Oh, yeah. You're putting one together right now. Yeah.
Okay, so what kind of trailer is this?
It's a little trailer. It's literally like the size of this. It's like a 3x5 trailer. It's an off-road trailer that you can take. You can throw your wood in it or do. But
it doesn't haul like
it's not on the road. It's off-road trailer. It's an off-road trailer. Yeah. Okay. So it's got off-road tires on it. And I think everybody's honey-do list got a lot bigger during COVID, right? You're at home. Your wife is like,
get some stuff done.
Hey, you need to do that.
We haven't had a break
right?
like this in a while.
Exactly.
We can't go anywhere anyway, so let's get something done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we were selling these trailers like crazy, and that's when I realized, hey, the phone calls started coming in, and that's when I started hiring some other people. You know, I was like, man, I need somebody to submit the orders. I need somebody to ship out stuff, and I need somebody to take the calls because I couldn't build the business then. You know, I was stuck. Working the day-to-day stuff instead of building the business, which I still find myself doing day-to-day stuff just because I'm a micromanager. I try not to be, but you know, it happens sometimes. But so yeah, then changing the name to Offroad Armor. One of the reasons why I did that, and this is another just minor thing that I always think was probably one of my best things. So on Google Ads, which we get a lot, like 50% of our sales come from Google Ads, right? And those are those little boxes that pop up on the top of Google or Yahoo or Bing or whatever, those ads. Well, if your name is too long, it doesn't fit on there. So Off-Road Armor fits perfectly. You know, you can see the whole name. But like, for example, one of our competitors, side-by-side stuff, all you see is side-by-side. Like, right? You don't see the whole name. And I just thought that looked terrible. So I did Off-Road Armor, off-road being one word. Now, if I would have put that space in between off and road, it would have cut the R off at the end. So that's one of the reasons why I made off-road one word and armor in the other, and it just worked out. It was great.
It makes sense
so,
anyway.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And it worked out great too.
Worked tremendous. Worked out
so
tremendous.
Something so small was so beneficial.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Beneficial.
I don't know why. I guess this is my anal part of me.
Now what, like the e-commerce, like the marketing side, how did you learn to market? Like how'd you figure out like this is like the Google ads and the doing the stuff on, do you do a lot on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube
tons.
too, right?
Yeah, we got about 20,000 followers on Facebook.
That's amazing.
Which I would say, you know, we have ran some ads, but really most of those are generic followers. You know, I would say you get on Instagram and these people that got hundreds of thousands, like 99,000 of them are not generic. They're just fake accounts.
Yeah, I would say just bots.
They're
Whatever
bots.
You want.
Yeah. But we've got a really good following on Facebook. And I don't know, like just.
Would you say Facebook or Instagram's better?
Facebook is way better. Facebook's way better. YouTube, we're tapping into that. By the way, I don't know where my cell. Did I bring my cell phone?
Yeah,
sweet. Well, we're not going to show it, but we'll watch it and we can talk about the video we just created.
I might even watched it. Is it the one with Colton?
You have not.
The one with Connor. The one with Connor?
Yeah. So, I did watch it.
But
I went to you guys' YouTube.
Well, we got the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's about
there's just a teaser clip.
Yeah, I did the teaser clip for about like 16 seconds or whatever. Now it's a 3.5 minute video, so we'll watch it, and it's getting ready to come out at the end of this week, hopefully.
Cool.
So,
okay. So here's the thing. Damn it! I wish I knew that. Because so I've basically been trying to upload these YouTube videos, these podcasts once a week.
Okay.
So it'll be by the time everyone else is watching this, it's going to be live.
It should be live, yeah.
I only want to do one a week just because I don't want to overload all my social media and everybody that is following it. I don't want to put out too much. And it's a lot to edit too. It can be a lot to edit if my audio gets messed up or anything. So by the time everyone's watching this, it should be live.
I would say so, yeah. We're hoping by the 16th, so that should be Saturday.
And your YouTube channel is just Off-Road Armor.
Yeah, Off-Road Armor on YouTube. We've got a lot of installation videos and stuff. We have created a couple other commercial type videos, but this one is by far the sickest. We got Connor Martell from Vermont Sports Car, who we sponsor. He's on Nitro Rallycross, and his partner is Travis Pastrana. And
his
teammate is Travis Pastrana for Subaru and Nitro Rallycross. And that brings me to this great story where Steve comes in. And so
Steve looks a little worried.
No. I'll start it out. You know, we sponsor a couple local guys. Alex Betlock, does that name ring a bell? And and Travis Albert. You've heard of the Alberts from Washington, right?
Yeah, but
they're a little younger than you.
Yeah, and also I just like I like it all. Like I just not like in depth.
Yeah.
So I don't know the guys and stuff like that.
Well,
but I guarantee there's gonna be some people that watch this.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys out here that are just I know guys out here that are big into the racing, the side by sides. But Connor actually races a rally car, right?
Yeah, Connor races a rally car.
So
which we sell nothing for currently, by the way.
Really?
So, yeah.
But any plans?
Yeah.
You guys have plans to get
Absolutely.
into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because there's a lot of guys out here that are just, I mean, everyone loves side-by-sides, especially after COVID. I think I'm the only one that doesn't have a side-by-side. And that's just because I just don't put money into, I consider it a liability personally, just because right now I'm just big on the grind. I'm putting all of it back in assets. And I'm big into real estate and things like that. So I would love one. And I do love them. This scar on the side of my head, everybody sees that's from a foiler accident. You know, I was a freaking.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I was always big into foilers, and like just my whole life, like I was just always in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, I've kind of trickled out of it a little bit, but I still love it. I still love all this stuff, and that's why when you start this business, I followed you basically since day one.
I appreciate that,
just
man.
been friends on Facebook and followed your page, and
yeah.
like I never had anything to buy from you just because I didn't have nothing, but. I always found it fascinating.
Well,
and I've watched it grow.
Here, I went into college and I played college baseball, and I didn't. Well, okay, I take that back. I didn't play when I went into college. I played baseball, so I focused on baseball. I want to be a professional baseball player. That was my goal. Played in high school, did okay. Junior college got a little better, and I'm like, maybe I got a chance. I was never very fast. Didn't throw the ball 95, but I could hit the ball a little bit, and I was still progressively every year getting better. And then I remember my junior year, and we'll get to that story, but this is also another awesome story. My junior year, I'm up at Culver Stockton College up in northern Missouri, and I'm playing volleyball of all things. And a buddy of mine, we're practicing before our match, and he went to spike it. I went to block it. I landed on his foot and tore my Achilles, actually on my 21st birthday. Tore my Achilles. Ruined pretty much my baseball career. I mean, I was out for 9 months. And so I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense to go to this college that costs a lot of money when I could just go back home, kind of drop out of college for a year or whatever. And I didn't drop out. I just went to UMSL. I went to University of Missouri St. Louis, where I graduated from. But I got better. It took me like 9 months to walk again. And then next year, I remember I'm playing baseball, and my dad, I had this ATV, as a Cannondale Cannibal, and it was like a 2002. It was just like a $1,800 ATV. Mm-hmm. And my dad's like, hey, we're sponsoring this track over in Belleville, Illinois. You want a Belleville Enduro track? Do you want to race just for the heck of it? And I was like, sure, yeah, I'll race.
Yeah, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, so I'm playing college. It's the summer. It's the summer of 2009, I think, at this point. And I'm playing college baseball, doubleheaders during the day for Summer Collegiate Wood Bat League in St. Louis, and then I'm going to race on Saturday nights. So I actually won. We won like the Summer Collegiate World Series. I won it on the mound, so I pitched against Ken Reitz, former Cardinals team he had together, and we went on to play nationals, and I think we took like third in the nation. But we win that, I'm literally racing ATVs over at Belleville Enduro Track, and I won the championship that same year racing ATVs.
Dang.
So it was a TT flat track, so I was drifting around every turn, and it kind of goes hand in hand with rally racing. You drift around every turn. So yeah, I still have like that ATV that I raced, and
that's cool.
Yeah, we put a couple grand into it, and it just. I was beating like $10,000 ATVs, and I had like $3,000 into mine. I'd show up at the starting line, and people would look over and be like, "Did you build that in your garage?" Because Cannondale was not a very popular machine. It was revolutionary for back in early 2000s, and ATK bought them out. They were the last American brand of ATVs. So ATK bought out Cannondale, and then the company, if I recall correctly, I think the company went under because they all died in a plane crash. The whole company died in a plane crash, yeah. So, so that company was absorbed, and they never made that machine again. And it's like, I bring it to these events now, and everybody's like, "Dude, you got a cannibal?" Like,
I don't think I've ever seen one before.
oh, it's gnarly. It's sick. I'm gonna be racing it next weekend, actually. Again.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll look it up after the
Yeah.
podcast.
So like Moto. Let's see. It was like MX versus ATV, the old PlayStation game.
Yeah.
You had to have the cheat codes to get it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's how people knew of it, from the video games, and so like. The oil ran through the frame and stuff. It was a Rotax engine. It's a really rare machine.
I'm
but
sure they're worth a bunch of money now.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a sweet conversation piece. I put it out there at our events, and everybody's like, "Dude, that's insane." And little teaser here. We're hoping to have it in our next video. We're hoping to have Connor Martell riding it and doing some tricks and stuff on our next video, or I'll be his test dummy and I'll put on the helmet and race suit and do it myself and say it's him. But but this video that we'll show you here in a little bit is all Connor Martell. It's all
and so everyone knows Connor is. Explain to me what Connor is, because I just from watching like your Facebook page and your YouTube channel, I've kind of got to know. You want another one?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take another one as well here.
And Connor though.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. I'll start out by saying how we got connected with Connor.
Yeah, explain how you got connected with Connor, and explain to us also, before you do that, like who he really is.
So,
like, does he work? He doesn't work for you guys.
No.
You guys sponsor him.
Yeah.
You sponsor his car, and he drives a rally car.
Yeah, we sponsor him. We don't sponsor the car. I'd rather sponsor the athlete because of.
Oh, you just sponsor him?
Yeah, we sponsor him. So
not the car.
Not the car. The car is like $1 million. They're rally racing these $1 million like electric vehicle cars. So,
but you hold the real estate on it. A majority of it
on the car.
Yeah.
No, we don't get to advertise on the actual car. So like we get advertising when he wears our hat or our shirt or something like that.
Do you guys have a rally car with your brand?
Yeah. So the Offroad Armor rally car was, that is how, I guess a couple years ago now, I had a girl that I went to all the way elementary school with up until high school, graduated. Elizabeth Tobin was her name, and she just wrote me one day, and she was like, "Hey, my neighbor does this rally car stuff, and I know you do off-road stuff. Like, I figured I'd get you guys, talking." And I'm like, "Well, I don't have anything for rally cars. I never even thought about it, And I've always wanted to. Me and my brother have always kind of wanted to do rally racing, but obviously the time never presented itself. So I'm like, I'd like to sponsor this dude and get my foot in the door, know it, see what you have to do." And he's rally racing an old like 06 Subaru.
Was this Connor?
No. So this is Alex Betlock. This is pre-Connor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Alex Betlock and Travis Elbert, who's his co-passenger, tells him where to go. But we just was like, "Hey, dude, let me sponsor you. Let me pay for your race. Let me wrap your car." This is like his daily driver from high school. But
okay.
Yeah, so you got roll bars in it now. You got detachable steering wheels. You've got no AC in it, and so it's built. It's got it's not that fast. It's just naturally aspirated, not non-turbo. But you don't have to have that fast of a car to do well. I mean, if you're Travis Pastrana, you probably want the fastest car. Ken Block, for example. But just around here in Missouri, we've got a few races a year. You can definitely compete. But yeah, we started sponsoring this guy, Alex, and going to his races, and he's he's doing pretty decent, middle of the pack, and he's still young, so he's got a lot of room to develop. And I told him at the very start, I said, "Hey, dude, Travis Pastrana is like my favorite athlete of all time," which I'm sure a lot of people are his their favorite athlete, and
definitely big in the off-road, like in the what's that?
Action sports,
action
power sports for sure,
extreme sports.
Yeah. So one of the reasons too why I wanted to sponsor him was to get to know Travis. Like I knew he was going to be at one event, 100 Acre Woods Rally Race in Missouri, and
is that down in Salem?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I watched a YouTube video. I think I watched your YouTube.
Okay,
video.
yeah, that was. So we get down there, and Travis is signing autographs, and I just want to say, like, Travis is the most down-to-earth guy when you see him. He doesn't wear sunglasses. You can look him in the eyes. He, like, whether you got teeth or no teeth, he's going to sign your hat from 20 years ago, like the raggedy. He doesn't care. He's just trying to make people's lives, and that's the best thing about him. I'm like, man, I want to sponsor this guy. it's probably going to cost me half of my business to sponsor him, $1 million for to wear my hat, or whatever. And I'm like, but I just want to talk to him, right? So I ask him, I'm like, and I'll tell you who Connor is here in a little bit, but I got to tell the pre-story.
Lead up. Yeah, let's hear it all.
So we are we're taking pictures with Travis. I was like, hey, Travis, do you have a marketing manager? I didn't get a chance I actually did not get a chance to ask Travis that. I forget. I asked the guy who was passing, he was ripping these pages out for people to sign, for Travis to sign for them. And I asked this guy, I said, hey, who's his marketing manager? And he's like, oh, it's the Japanese guy right over there. And this Japanese guy had worked for Vermont Sports Car for like 20, 30 years or whatever. And he's like, oh, he said, and I introduced him, told him who we were. And I told him that I'd like to talk to Travis about sponsoring him. And he's like, why don't you meet me back in the pits later tonight? So I'm going to let Steve take over.
So to get in the pits, you have to have like special privilege, or you can, as a business owner, do you get to go back
I
there?
guess. We had off-road armor on our trucks and everything like that.
Yes.
So I don't think you really, not to get into the pits, you really don't have to have anything special. Okay. But yeah, so this is an awesome part of our journey to get to where we're at.
Let's hear it, Steven.
I don't really know what to say. Where are we going? Salem?
So there were the first night.
We had the race.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Potosi.
we went back.
Or was it Salem or Potosi first? What was first? I think it was Potosi first.
Yeah, but where did we... It's confusing. Why did we go back? Because we went back to
So it was like a back-to-back race. There was a race in Potosi, and then you guys went over to Salem.
Well, we went back to Potosi, and there was nobody in the pits.
Yeah.
And
Does it start in Potosi?
Yeah, so you got 5 stages. The rally race consists of 6 stages, and there was 10 of them there. But the pits one day were in Potosi, and then an hour away,
that's right,
the pits were in Salem. Well, we weren't smart enough to know that or not to think that. So obviously the first day we went to Potosi, seen Travis, and that next night or later that night we went back there to meet up because
that's what it was.
He was like, "Hey, meet us back in the pits."
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, we head.
So
back
you
to
went
the
back
pits,
to Potosi,
and
yeah. Nothing. No one there.
You thought you got stood up.
Right. Kurt's ready to call it a night. We both probably were basically ready to call it a night. And I remember just telling Kurt, dude, no, we got to just make the drive. What if there's a 5% chance that you just get a chance to meet him? And
to meet Travis,
we made the drive. And
he made the drive.
Well, yeah.
I was ready just to go back home. I was so tired. We were gassed from the entire day. We were running around. And, he made that drive, and we got there, and
they were packing up.
They were packing Subaru. They had these huge Subaru semi trucks, 2 of them, and they were packing up. And I remember talking to the same guy that was ripping off the pages for Travis to sign, and I'm like, hey, where is he? And he's like, oh, Travis is at a meeting, and I can't remember the Japanese guy's name, but he wasn't there because he lost his drone in the woods, and he's looking for this drone out in the woods. And we're like, well, what do you, shall we just give this shirt and hat to this guy and have him give it to Travis? And Steve's like, no, dude, we need to wait. Let's just wait a little bit longer. And sure enough, we waited 15, 20 minutes, then a half an hour. At that point, we're like, this dude's never going to find his drone. He's never going to come. And he finally did. He finally found his drone. And
that's when I would just be like, where'd you crash a second? I'll help you find this out.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was probably way deep in the woods somewhere, off a back road where they're rally racing. Mm-hmm. And at this point, it's almost midnight.
Yeah,
it's almost midnight. And this guy finally comes, and he takes down my information. He's like, I'll get you connected with the right person. I'm like, heck yeah, dude, that's sweet. He gives me his card, and he gets me connected with this guy, Greg, from Vermont Sports Car, but he also has his own consulting firm. And he calls me, and I remember one of the first conversations, and the guy talks your ear off for an hour or two, by the way. And he's like, listen, man, if you want to go straight to the top, you can't. You just can't go straight to the top. Travis Pastrana is the top, and you can't just go to him. And I'm like, well, what do I got to do? I'll give him a portion of my business for him to be the spokesperson for Offroad Armor. I was like, I'll give him 49. What do I need to give him? 49%.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know that you'll have to give him something if we can even like talk to him. And he's
Who is this?
So this is Travis Pastrana.
The guy that's telling you.
Yeah, the guy that works for Vermont Sports Car, which Travis is like sponsored through Vermont Sports Car with Subaru. So Vermont Sports Car, Subaru are tied in together. They build the cars for Travis, and that was my in. But I remember the guy saying, "Listen, how about you sponsor Travis's teammate, Connor?" And I'm like, "Connor?" You know, I'd heard Connor Martell through like X Games, or I'd heard him through the previous like rally cross series that he was in, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I think that'd be cool. And so we signed a deal with Connor for the next year at least. I'm honestly hoping to keep Connor on for a long time. But as we build his brand, the price goes up to sponsor him, obviously, So
Sure.
we gotta figure that out. But the guy has won motocross championships, much like Travis. He's already won like some rallycross championships. So he is one of the fastest racers in the world. I mean, even this past weekend, he raced over in Sweden, and he beat out Travis, and he beat out 6 other racers from like across the world. I mean, you got guys from Jamaica, Europe, Sweden. There was a couple of guys from Sweden, and then the U.S. and so Vermont Sports Car sends these $1 million electric rally cars, which are brand new for this year. They can't even get all the power out of these. Like the power from 0 to 10, they're only able to get like 50% of the power because the electric is it's just all to the wheels. You can't even keep the wheels under the car hardly, so you have to feather.
So they're going all EV cars now.
Well, there's several different groups. So they're Group E, which is EV, which are the fastest cars. But then you've got other rally cars racing and
Gotcha. So, But the EV cars it's not the power of the problem of getting the power. It's the problem of controlling the power.
Exactly. It's
Gotcha.
from controlling you got to feather it, I mean, Connor went around a turn and got too tight and gassed it and flipped all the way around, slid all the way around in the heat. But yeah, he took sixth this past week in Sweden. But he's 25 years old, well-spoken guy. Comes from, Lance, who is actually the owner of Vermont Sports Cars, his stepfather. So that's how he's tied in. And I got the pleasure of speaking with Lance yesterday, actually, and just such a humble guy from, he owns Vermont Sports Car. He's like, listen, I know Connor has been an athlete since he was a young kid, and that's why I've kind of taken him under my wing with Vermont Sports Car. He's like, I'm trying to get him a deal with, Subaru. I'd love to get him sponsored by a big name. Obviously, Offroad Armor's not that big yet. We're trying, but we hope to be big, and we hope to grow our audience with his, and combined and
big in perspective to some of the other companies that you compare yourself to.
Yeah. I mean, there's
certainly. I mean, you guys are certainly pretty big to be sponsoring drivers. And being out there.
Yeah, we sponsor. So we sponsor Connor. Actually, this next weekend, which by the time this airs may be over already, but Red Bull's coming to.
What's the date? Do you know the date on it?
Yeah, August. What is this weekend? August 5th and 6th. Yeah, August 5th and 6th. Wait, I'm sorry, August 6th. Yeah, August 6th and 7th, Saturday and Sunday. Red Bull's coming to a little town right outside of Lake St. Louis where I live. There's this pump track, and then there's a BMX track, and we have like we have a BMX rider that we sponsor, and we have a pump track racer that we sponsor. One's 17, one's 13. Both of them are hurt, unfortunately, so I don't know if either one of them is going to race. They actually just Monday, the 13-year-old Trent Alexander, they call him the Magic Man. He is a beast, and I look forward to working with him for a long time. But he crashed and broke his jaw, so I think he's going to have some surgery on his jaw, and I don't think he's going to be able to.
How old is he?
13, yeah.
13.
And then the other kid's 17, and he has a pin in his finger because he crashed on a downhill.
Super dangerous sport, man.
Yeah.
I would almost think it's one of the most dangerous ones.
Yeah, it's tough.
I couldn't tell you how many people I've seen get hurt on a dirt bike.
Well, no, that's bicycles. This is bikes. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Like an EV bike?
No, just like a BMX bike.
Really?
A BMX bike or a mountain bike.
Really?
So our 17-year-old Connor, Connor Kessler, he was downhill racing mountain bikes, and
Yep.
he's had some pretty gnarly crashes lately. So unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to or not. I told him, I was like, dude, it'd be a cool comeback story if you did. And then obviously I said that to the same thing as
Which one is this, the 13 or 14? Or
that's the 17-year-old Connor Kessler. Be on the lookout for him too. He'll be, if he continues to do it, he'll be one of the best in the country. But yeah, you just got to get through those injuries and learn from it, and
not let them you can't let those things like those when you get hurt, you can't let them hold you back.
Yeah,
you cannot fear getting hurt. If you want to be the absolute best, you got to be willing to put that on the line.
It is an art. Absolutely.
You're literally kind of playing with injury the whole anytime you get out there. Anytime you can get hurt. So if you go into like these corners or these hills or whatever, and you're fearing, you have to slow down because the fear is holding you back from doing it. I just feel like you can't have that.
Yeah.
Because there's someone out there that's not going to have the fear, and they're going to be able to push themselves through it.
You know, I've always had the thought to myself that, it's not always about how good of a racer you are. It's about how good you are from staying away from crashing.
Yeah.
Because it is an art. It is an art to learn how to crash gracefully. Mm-hmm. You know, I've actually been fortunate enough. I haven't broken any bones. I mean, maybe some ribs, but who knows? I never went to the doctor for those. But racing dirt bikes and ATVs and stuff, I've never broken any bones, and I contribute that to gracefully crashing. Mm-hmm. Like, I crashed hard, but it's how you crash. And I love, like, my 6-year-old and 4-year-old, heck, they woke me up riding their dirt bikes this morning. My wife told them to go out and ride their dirt bikes, so they were. And I love seeing them crash. And I hold my breath, obviously, for a second after they crash. And once they get back up, I'm so relieved as a parent, obviously, but I'm so excited that they crashed. Mm-hmm. Because you have to crash in order to learn from that mistake and to learn how not to get hurt.
Yeah. And you also need to learn just how to push your limits. Like, find out where the limit is and then just dial it back just a hair. Yep, exactly. So if you never push your limits on anything, it's just, I mean, how are you ever going to find out what you're really capable of unless you really push yourself to that limit? Yeah.
Yeah. And I do want to mention one story too, that I think kind of changed my life was, I was actually driving. So when I was in the car business, and not that many people know this, but when I was in the car business, I get migraines, once a month or once every other month. And usually I get those like auras where you can't see, where your whole vision is blocked out.
I've heard that. I've never had one before, but I've heard
it's awful.
Insane.
And a lot of it's due to stress and stuff like that, but, or what you eat or the weather, they really don't know. But I remember I was driving my Mustang to work one day, and the sun must have just hit me just right. And I just lost my vision. It went all white. And I thought I was like having a stroke or a seizure or what was happening. And I might've been, but I remember still being like awake to feel the side of the road. So I pulled my Mustang on the side of the road. I could feel the rocks on the side. And, I opened my door, cars are honking at me. And I was like trying to figure out what's going on. Am I dying? What's going on? And
now, do you got your vision back?
No, still don't have it back. So it was gone for, what seemed like eternity, but it was probably only like for 3 minutes. And then it slowly, and the only way I can really actually experience, when you get into your car's been sitting outside, it rained overnight, and then it froze, and it's all frozen on your windshield. That's what it was like. It was like all white I couldn't see anything. And so I was in the car business, and I had to drive a lot of cars. Well, I got super scared to drive cars because I was scared that I was going to go blind and crash again. Yeah. And so, they did a scan on me, and they were like, hey, nothing's wrong. You must have just had a freak migraine. And so I started taking some like anxiety medicine, and I've always been kind of ADHD too. So I started, and I want your listeners to know that you don't have to be scared to talk to somebody about anxiety, because obviously, as life is changing and as you get older and you start eating bad food and all this stuff is having changes in your mental mind and your body, you don't have to be scared to talk to somebody about it. And I was glad I did, because they were like, hey, this is, anxiety is a common problem, obviously.
Oh yeah, very, very common.
And people are so, it's such a it's such like a bad thing. People just make it out such a bad thing. You want to portray yourself as being this, macho guy, but so I started getting on some anxiety medicine, and it really just calmed me down, and it allowed me to think about what I was my next move. Like, it gave me that second of hesitation to where I could think about what I was going to say or do. And before that, again, I was on autopilot. You just like literally just do what you think you're supposed to do. And when I started taking this medicine and anxiety medicine, and it really, that's what kind of catapulted my whole like off-road armor type deal, is it really helped me calm down a little bit
and focus
and
think more into it.
Yep.
And so, do you think any of that like anxiety could have caused stress, which could cause those migraines?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like
100%.
all that stuff plays in together.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's super common.
Yeah.
Anxiety, depression, just like overall stress from whatever.
Yep.
Like, everybody's got something going on in their lives. Like most people don't just have this cushion cake life.
Yeah.
Like it's. Yeah, like you said, a lot of people that like feel like they need to hide it and like act like it's no big deal, but it really is. Or like they want to act like they're acting like it's no big deal,
right,
and that they don't need to tell anyone, but it really is no big deal in the fact that, hey, you can go out and like almost everybody's got almost, I don't know the amount, like the percent, like the number wise, but I would say at some point in someone's life they're gonna deal with anxiety or depression or not, or both. And sometimes, it's something as simple as getting some medicine, or sometimes it's as simple as maybe, just going to the gym and learning to get it out there, or walking or hiking or meditating, something along those lines, just to help fix it. And like you said, you think maybe it helped you calm your mind into the point where it helped you really focus on what you really need to do. Yeah. Because sometimes I feel like I'm scatterbrained, and I could probably use it too.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
Working out, like your business, obviously I wish I could do a lot more, but with 3 kids and a business, is just, you got to find that time to do it. And I love my sleep. So mornings are tough. Everybody's like, dude, you got the morning, get up at 4:00. And I'm like, man, I just fell asleep at 3:00 working, so it's tough. And I try to do as much with the kids. I get my workout chasing after my kids or lifting them up. That's my workout.
Yeah.
Lifting them up 1,000,000 times a day, or, chasing them around on a dirt bike or something like that, so I would like to show you this video, and
can we do it off air?
Yeah, we can do it off air.
We'll do it off air.
Or we can do it on air, and you're not going to be able to see it, because there's a couple edits we still have to add, but we can discuss it.
Sure.
While we're on video here,
sure,
we can discuss it. And let me see if
I've also been wanting. Let's see how long we've been in this. So we're about an hour and 30 in. We're not bad.
Whoa! I figured 2 hours. So
there's one thing. We'll watch the video, and then probably wrap it up.
Sure.
Not too much longer after it, but something I've been wanting to do is just my guests that come out. I got this banner here, and I got all this real estate on it, and I'm thinking about having all my guests sign it.
Sounds great.
I would like you guys to put Offroad Armor on it and just put your signature next to it, and then just have it stamped there, and then hopefully I just like the idea.
That's sweet. That sounds great.
Good conversation piece too.
So I always joke my last name is Driemeyer, so I always everybody's like, I'm living the dream, and I tell them I live the dream every day. Yeah. Because I'm a Driemeyer. So, I might need to get Wi-Fi on your deal here to do this.
Pull it up, and I can type it in.
All right. So let's see. There's Wi-Fi Wilson there. Yeah, I'm excited to unveil this. I think this is gonna catapult Off-Road Armor. Have you ever seen any of the Gymkhana videos with Ken Block? Yeah. So this is very similar to that. This is definitely very similar to.
Well, I watched the teaser, and I definitely got that vibe.
It's
got that vibe from it.
So we'll go ahead
How long was the teaser?
Like 16 seconds.
Yeah, it was 16 seconds. Yeah.
So we'll.
So they're gonna be. They might be able to see just a little bit of it, but okay. If you put it over there, they won't see any of it. That's even better. We can move it.
All right. So Steve hasn't got a chance to see the full video yet. So
is this Connor?
I've seen half of
this is Connor. So Brad Holmes Cinema. Brad Holmes is a beast. He was like one of the best skiers in the world back in his day. And again, right now we've got Connor Martell in his race suit, his VSC suit, off-road armor, race suit, his helmet.
This is the teaser right here.
Yeah. So we showed everybody just a little bit of him grabbing keys out of the mailbox and.
Okay, so this is just like the Ken block.
Yeah, this is pretty similar. Yeah. So this is based on Flying W Ranch. This is based out at Flying W Ranch in Cherryville, Missouri. A couple buddies of mine have 2,000 acres out here, and there's the spring. So that is a natural spring. There's 2 in the state of Missouri that you can actually like drink from, and that's one of them.
Wow.
So they've tested the water. It's drinkable. We were doing this video at like 104, actually my truck's at 115 degrees.
Oh, wow. It was hot out.
So we took several dips in the spring. That's like literally like 40 degrees. It was refreshing. But here he's drifting around the parking lot of the saloon that's on the property. And yeah, pretty awesome, man. He had never
awesome.
like. Obviously, this is the first time ever driving this car, so he's just drifting around and we park it. This is one of my favorite parts. We've got
the
Steve
car
here,
looks awesome too.
Steve here sitting on a rocking horse on the front. We got a guy whittling a stick and a guy with some straw in his mouth, and here comes Connor, getting in our side by side. And so that's a Can-Am Maverick X3. That's our side-by-side that you'll be seeing a lot more of, hopefully, on the race course. And some of these shots that we got are just incredible through the woods. I love that. I love that shot so much. So his property is right in the middle of Mark Twain Forest, right? 2,000 acres, right in the middle of Mark Twain Forest. It is absolutely just how peaceful is that shot?
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really cool shot.
I love it. Yeah, so there he's drifting around just a random tree out in the middle of a huge field.
So is Connor from Missouri?
No, he's from Vermont, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
he's from Vermont.
So he flew in just for this video.
Yeah, I flew him in. I flew in Brad from California, and
That's a
Greg,
cool one.
our rep, our agent from Vermont as well. Look how, I mean,
How fast is he going in this
he's
video?
probably going 70. You know, that'll top out at like 95 or something like that. So he's probably doing 60 to 80, depending on where it is. So it was so dusty, but it makes for a cool. My dad just called here. He'd probably. So here he gets out of the side-by-side and takes a drink of water, throws his bottle, and hops on a dirt bike, and he's off. And now we're gonna make a next video. So
That's awesome video.
yeah, I'm
Now,
pretty sick.
did you do that all in one day?
2 days.
2 day
Two
video.
days we did it. 2 days we did it. So we flew him out on Wednesday. We started filming Thursday, pretty much all of Friday, and then we headed straight to the racetrack down in Wheatland, Missouri, at Lucas Oil Speedway, and he raced the next day down there, which is a tremendous track. If anybody ever gets to go down, I mean, they've got drag boat, they've got circle dirt track for pro modifieds, they've got trophy truck track, which is where the side-by-sides race. It is amazing. It's this little town of Wheatland, Missouri, 300 people.
Wow.
In this town. So
Yeah. I bet they draw on a lot of people though for that.
oh god, it was awesome. We're gonna
Yeah.
be heading down there again on the 20th. There's another race. But unfortunately, our car it's really fast, but it was pretty much stock, right? So it was the guy that built it, who had it before us, made it for drag racing. On a track is a lot different. So we exploded the front diff, the secondary clutch, the belt, the
That's part
axles.
of it though, right?
Oh yeah.
Figure out where the limits are.
Yeah, so we're gonna fix it up. That's probably why my dad was just calling me there, because he's probably wondering, hey, are we gonna get this radiator relocation kit? Because it overheated a little bit because it's a long track and you're pedal to the metal the entire time.
Yeah.
So, that video will be coming out here soon, and
What day do you think it'd be?
I'm hoping Saturday.
Saturday, August 6th.
Yeah, I'm hoping Saturday.
Cool.
August 6th.
So hopefully by the time everyone's watching this, they can go to
Yeah,
your YouTube channel,
yeah.
look up
Yeah.
Off-Road Armor, find you? It's going to be on YouTube, right?
Absolutely.
Will you share it on your Facebook?
Facebook, Instagram. It'll be over everything, so everybody will be able to see it.
Perfect. So you guys can find them anywhere. And if you guys, we're going to kind of wrap it up here.
Absolutely.
I think probably just be best.
Sure.
If you guys want to find anything from you guys, obviously you guys are on all social medias. Are you guys on TikTok? No, TikTok.
Actually, I was trying to do TikTok, and they kept taking my videos down because they said it was promoting dangerous activities.
Sure.
I'm like, come on, we're a legitimate business. Like, figure it out. But
sure.
Yeah,
I understand that.
So I got off of that. I don't know.
Sure. Maybe try it again one day.
Yeah. We'll
and then just offroadarmor.com, right?
Yeah,
any type of if it's gonna drive on dirt, you got a part for it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Basically.
That's right.
So go check them out there. I really do appreciate you guys coming out. Yeah, can I get you guys? We can do it off air or on air, doesn't matter. But sign that. And I really appreciate you guys coming out, man. It was.
Since we're the first one signing, I mean, I feel like we need to put it like right in the middle.
Wherever, dude. If you want to put it right in the middle, you can. Swing this out of the way if you need to.
All right. Oh man, can't even type. You're right. Can't even write.
We'll get this baby filled up.
Should we put 525?
Yep.
Okay.
And 525 is whose number?
So it's funny. That's our rally car number. And Steve was like, "Why'd you guys choose 525?" And Alex was like, "Well, that's my birthday." And he goes, "Well, that's my birthday." I'm
really?
Like, so we're 525.
Cow.
So
that's destined.
Yeah.
Destined.
I mean, coincidences like that know you're on the right path in life, for sure.
Absolutely, man. So. And you guys just seem happy, man. You really do seem like you're enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah. We're having a blast.
Important.
Man, I appreciate you so much for having us on.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming out, and maybe somewhere in the future we have you guys come back out, and maybe just see like a year from now or something, see where you guys been. We'll stay in touch.
Sounds great.
Cool.
Sounds great, man.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.